An exercise will be helpful in developing your cell creation and cell placement skills. You're going to draw a basic foundation wall and subfloor assembly, as shown on the screen right now. Now, there's no need to copy this to paper. I have placed these details in a file on your working files folder called cellexercise.pdf. If you would open that file right now, then we can continue with the exercise. Now, we're going to create two additional cells. One will be the combination of the footer and the partial foundation wall, and the second will be the lumbar cell, which will be used for our various lumbar sizes. I'm assuming that you already have available the double break line cell and the single break line cell, which we developed in the previous videos. If not, you'll need to create both of these cells, and I'll leave you to do that on your own. Now, I'm going to develop this drawing in a separate drawing file, in fact, a new drawing file completely, simply to avoid any complications with previous cells that we made in the other videos. So the first order of business is to create the footer and the partial foundation wall cell. So I'm going to start with the block tool, going to use a weight 1 line, and draw my basic footer, which is 1 foot 8 wide and 10 inches deep. Now, if you're working in metric, of course, simply look at the dimensions in the PDF file. So I need the width first, which will be 1:8, and down arrow and :10. There's my footer. That will do nicely. Now I need the partial foundation wall. Now there's no height for this. It's just proportional at the moment. So I need a line tool. I'm going to start in the center, press F11 and O key to locate the compass, move across this way by 5 inches for the 10-inch width of the wall. So :5 for the half width, left click and drag, and about there, I think. Right click. Start the element selection tool and we'll do a copy of this wall. Zip it this way by 10 inches, so :10. There we go, all done. So there's my footer and foundation wall. This needs to be turned into a cell. So select cell origin. I'll make it there. Open the cell library box. Create is open to me. I'll click on create. Let's give this a name. We'll call this footer. Shan't bother with the description. And create. And there's my footer cell nicely in place. Next, I need a lumbar cell. And for this one, I'm going to zoom in quite a bit. And I'm going to draw a block which is 1 inch by 1 inch. So, :1, down arrow, :1. There's my block. Now I'm doing this at 1 inch on a side, so this becomes a unit block. And now I can scale it to whatever size I need. I need to place diagonal lines on this, and these should be in weight 1 since they are a symbol. This is a typical symbol for cross-section through lumbar. This needs to become a cell. So again, I will select the elements, define the cell origin. I'm going to place that on the bottom corner here. That's normally a good place for lumbar. And create is open again. Click on that. And we'll call this lumbar. And create. So now we have the new lumbar, the new footer. I've got my original break and single break lines. And of course, I'm working in my personal cell. You may well have more in here as you develop them from the previous videos, which is fine. Now we can start the actual drawing itself. So I'm going to zoom out. And I don't need these elements anymore because I'm going to place cells. So I can delete all of those. Now you'll note that we still have the cell origin floating around. It will disappear as we do other operations, but if you don't want to see it, just click on the Define Origin tool again. That will make that disappear, and we can go back to a different tool. Now we can start developing this actual drawing. Here's my footer cell. Double-click that to make it a placement cell. Here comes my footer cell. Now note that my scale in the tool settings window is 1:1, as it should be. I'm drawing a full-size footer here. So we'll place that right there. Next, I need to place the double break line. So double click on the break to make that a placement cell. Here comes my break line, but it's a little short for the drawing. So I'm going to change that to 1.25 and bring it in. That looks a little better. So I'm going to locate that roughly about there, proportionally. Then I'm going to move it. So we'll do a move. I'm using my multi-snap, so I will automatically pick nearest, and I can bring it down to snap to endpoint. Now that's nicely in place. Next, I need to develop the upper part of the foundation wall, which again are lines. And I need to line them up, of course, with the lower lines. So F11 again, and O for the compass. We'll go up, press Enter for Smart Lock, find that point, left click, drag upwards. Again, there's no set dimension here, so I can just do that, come across, enter, find that location, enter again, find that location, and we're done. Now I need to add the 2x4 sill plate here. So I need my lumber cell, double click on that to activate it. And I'm going to change the scale so that I get a 2x4, which is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, because I'm going to use the dressed sizes of the lumber, which is not the same size as the nominal size, which is 2x4. If you're not familiar with lumber, that's how it works. 2x4 is not actually 2x4. It's actually a 1.5 by 3.5 sized piece of lumber. So my X scale needs to be 3.5. But if you remember, I place the cell origin in the bottom left corner, but I need to snap this lumber to the corner here. And I can't do that with the cell origin on the left corner. So what I'll do is change the scale to -3.5 for the width of the lumber, and the wire scale changes to 1.5, but I must unlock the scales. So this now is 1.5. By doing that, I now have the lumber at the correct size, and I've essentially changed the snap point for the lumber. So the -3.5 reversed the cell. So now I can snap it to this corner, as it should be, and that's nicely in place. Next thing to do is to draw the band joist, sometimes called a header joist, which is the vertical joist here, which is a 2x10 joist, and the dress size is 1.5 inches by 9.25 inches. So we need the lumber cell active. We have to change our sizes again. Now the X scale in this case will be 1.5, that's the horizontal dimension, whereas the vertical scale will be the 9.25 scale. I bring this one in place, and the snap point is correct for this application, so I simply snap to that corner, and there's the band joist in place. Now I can copy this joist in this direction at 16-inch spaces. So that's a simple copy. So we'll copy. Doesn't matter where I select. Go in that direction. I need 2 copies. And the first direction is 16 inches, so :16, and data point. And there's my second joist, automatically in place. So far, so good. Now I need the 3/4 inch plywood. Back to the line drawing. So the first line will be there, running across to approximately there. I'm going to copy that up by 3/4 in that direction by 3/4 of an inch. That's going to be :0.75. That's my 3/4. And I'm going to finish off the end with that. Now, of course, I'm happily drawing away here, but have you spotted my deliberate mistake? Or my not so deliberate mistake? I'm still in the 0 line weight, which is not what I actually want. So, as is typical, I'm going to make some selections here and pick up all of those, which are the lines with the wrong weight, and change those to weight 1, as they should be. So let's add the cell plate now, which is a 2x6, which fits here. 2x6 is 1.5 by 5.5. So again, lumber cell. This time I want the X scale to be the width, so that's 5.5, so it'll be 5.5. Down arrow, the height will be 1.5. Here comes my lumber. That snaps to there. And I can extend lines upwards for the 2x6 stud wall. And I can do that, and enter, and snap to that. Now all I have to do now is apply my single breaks. Now these are going to go in right now at 1:1. We'll see what size they are. I'm going to do this one first. This is the most appropriate one. Oh, that's pretty good. I'll leave that where it should be. So about there will do. And I'm going to move it again. Move from there to there. And now when I do this one, the scale will have to be different, as will the rotation. So again, single break is active. Scale I'm going to guess for the moment and make that 0.25. We'll see how it turns out. And the rotation should be 90. So let's click on 90. Bring this in. Oh, that's not too bad at all. No, a little bit too large. Let's change this to 1/8 and see what that looks like. Quite often this is a game of guess. Little move from there to there. And we're done. Now at this point, if you wanted to, you could add other elements such as drain tile, gravel, insulation, grade level, etc., etc. We could also look at other possibilities for this type of drawing. For example, the footing cell that we created could be created as a unit cell, which would allow the placement of any size foundation wall, provided, of course, that the footing remained in proportion to the wall thickness, which it usually does, as per building codes. You could also have added the double break line as part of the footer cell, which would save having to apply that cell as a separate item. You could develop a set of standard subfloor cells with different size floor joists and subfloors. In fact, a cell could be made of the entire assembly, with notes and added items, if this was a standard building section that you used in most of your building drawings. So essentially, your challenge is to find creative ways of using cells to your advantage in your own designs. Now, as a matter of interest, if you would like to look at some additional Bentley cells, then go to Bentley's website at www.bentley.com and open the Support tab. Then check on the Bentley Library item and look for your area of interest. Give that a try. And of course, as always, you should be practicing. And a good way to do this is to work in your own area of drawing expertise and develop some cells for your own work.